Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jay. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're having a conversation about TCG Player versus eBay and which I think is better for the selling of single cards. I'm going to present some of my experiences with the selling on both and also the advantages, disadvantages, and maybe your situation one will be better than the other, and it might be a different choice than what I made. So I'm just going to present you the information I know. When I started selling a TCG player about 7 or 8 years ago, it was clearly the better option than eBay. The fees were slightly cheaper, and you pretty much had the same option of how to ship the cards. You could use, I mean, if we're basically talking about cheaper cards more so than the expensive ones. I have an opinion on those too, and I'll go over it. But for the most part, this video is really about the selling of individual cheap cards on eBay or TCG Player. Back then like I say, if you shipped on eBay or TCG Player, you're pretty much stuck with the stamp, and there's no tracking to that. You can get got by buyers. They can just say they didn't receive the card or whatever. They might have a one that's messed up. They keep the good one that you gave them, and then they claim that they got a bad card and send you the warped one back or the bent up one back. And I've seen that kind of stuff happen before too. But yeah, your only option was the stamp back then. And with the TCG player having the cheaper fees, of course that's where you're going to go. And then with the niche website like that, like its only product is TCG cards, you may assume that most of the TCG market's going to be there. And there's a big portion that is there, but they're not. It's not near as big as eBay as far as audience size. Um, and a lot depends on how much product you have to list, how much product you can get up, and how quick. TCG player, you can list the cards pretty quick because the way it works there is it's a catalog style listing format, similar to Amazon. You've got, for instance, one card, you'll have one listing for everybody for that one card. When you click into that listing, you'll see everybody's offer underneath. And that's kind of how TCG players laid out, just like Amazon, more or less. And eBay has its own catalog style shopping experience. I've never touched it, never will. But eBay's always kind of been more about the single sales and the auctions. So for that reason, if you've got just tons of product, you can get it up quick. TCG player might be the better option for you. You got lower fees there. Um, TCG players pretty much still stuck with the stamp as the only option to ship something. A few years back, I think, well, hell, I think it was 2021. eBay came out with the eBay standard envelope. It might have been 2022. Can't recall right off the top of the head the exact year, but somewhere in there they came out with the eBay standard envelope. And for me, that kind of changed the game up. Before on TCG Player, I put all my cheap cards there, but the more expensive cards I did end up selling on eBay because you're trying to get the tracking and the insurance and kind of watch your back. On eBay, I mean, I figured I'd just put it on the bigger market. Since I got to buy tracking anyway, I might as well just put it on eBay. I've sold bigger cards on both. I've sold cheaper cards on both. But when I started, that's how I did it. Cheaper stuff I sold on TCG Player. More expensive stuff I sold on eBay. So it was a hybrid approach, and that's probably what a lot of people do. And it might be good for you, but for me, I had all those cards listed on TCG Player, and I started. Like I say, it's probably about 5 or 6 thousand cards altogether listed on TCG Player. And around the time that eBay Standard Envelope came out, I started trying to sell some of the cheaper cards on eBay. Well, I kept them on TCG Player for a while, for quite a while actually. But it's kind of a pain keeping up with cards you sold here, cards you sold there. There's no, they're not you can't connect those websites to where you sell one here and it deletes there. So it's a lot of keep up with. And when I started selling on eBay with the eBay Standard Envelope, it just I got more sales really, and I guess I attribute that to it just being a bigger market and getting more sales velocity. Because yeah, there's I it'd be the same cards I had listed on TCG Player for forever. And as soon as I started listing them on eBay, I started getting pops on them. Stuff that had been sitting there for years started getting pops on eBay. I'm like, wow, I'm actually charging more on eBay. The fees are a tad more. The eBay standard envelope, I think when it come out, was more expensive, and therefore a long time the more expensive option than buying the forever stamp. But the difference there is the eBay standard envelope. You've got, and first of all, you got the PIPS insurance, which is a third party insurance that covers your package up to $20 for I think a single card, and then I think the insurance is higher if it's a multi-card order. This video isn't necessarily going to a deep dive into that, so I don't have that information for you. But it does have insurance included, and it also has a tracking. So for eBay's purposes, it counts as tracking, which can help you prove that the card arrived. The customer can't get you really. If the card hit their doorstep, it's going to show that on the tracking. And if the postage office loses it, or the card gets damaged in postage or something, you've got the insurance to cover it. So it's like it's a win-win. There's no way to lose here with the eBay standard envelope. And now, especially at this point in time, I think the forever stamp is 78 cents for like a 1 ounce or less. And if you were to buy the eBay standard envelope, 74 cents. So it's actually cheaper for the eBay standard envelope now. 4 cents cheaper on that, and then you get the tracking and the insurance. And they do lose those. The tracking that comes with the eBay standard envelope isn't your typical scan. It's pretty much like a pre-sorted mail that they found a way to sell you. Because I mean, you get junk mail and it'll have that pre-sorted mail code on it. It's basically like that. So the thing about it is also that tracking doesn't work very well. A lot of times you put a sale into the mail with the eBay standard envelope, and it won't get a carrier scan. But the thing about that is eBay knows all that, and it actually won't ding your metric for having no scan. As long as it does eventually pop up in a scan and show delivered, then you're good. The customer can't lie and say he didn't get it. He could damage or try to put a switcheroo or something like that. It'd be a lot of effort for a cheap card, but that probably won't happen. But yeah, with the eBay standard envelope, it just completely, like, to me, it blows TCG Player out of the water now. Simply because, maybe not so much because of the price difference, because like I said, it's a few cents, but because of the insurance and the eBay and how it requires tracking, and you have a recourse to prove the customer got the card, and that's mattered so many times. Like, I want to do people right, and I want people to get the cards they ordered, but at the same time, I mean, the package shows it arrived. I've had people hit me up saying it didn't arrive, but the package said it did. And in eBay, all you got to go in is you just got to go into the dispute, and then add the tracking number. The tracking number shows it arrived, so you're good. It's pretty much on the customer at that point. I don't suggest you refund people unless they actually return the item to you. There's too many shysters out there in the world. As long as you fulfill what the platform requires of you, which is to prove that the item arrived. They can't file item not received if the tracking shows it arrived. So that was, back when it was just the stamps was the only option. That was, you can see how it's a complete game changer. Now the fees on eBay are still a little more expensive, of course. Like I say, it's around 2% more or something like that. And then I think the fixed price for the transaction, I think it's a little more expensive too. But to me, none of that matters because eBay's got a much bigger audience, and also you can actually sell your cards a little more expensive on eBay. I use TCG Player as a kind of a price gauge. I look at TCG Player listings and eBay listings when I'm deciding to list cards, but I can charge a little more on average on eBay and get away with it. because you've got less competition. It seems like there's more. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say. Like it depends on what the card game is. Like in Magic or something that's been around forever, Pokemon, and you're talking about old cards. There's probably not much different. They're probably super cheap on both. If it's a slightly newer game, then yeah, like there's a Dragon Ball game that me and my buddy were playing, and there were still cheap cards. But the thing about it is, on uh, you didn't have much competition on eBay with some of that stuff. But there's just stacks and stacks of it on TCG Player. So it's like I'm the only guy over here. I'm asking a little bit more, but I'm the only guy over here on eBay, and I'm still offering you a good deal. It's pretty close to the other deal, but you get your tracking and your insurance. You know what I'm saying? It more than outweighs what it loses in fees. You know what I'm saying? So, and especially for more expensive cards, it's probably best to sell those on eBay, regardless of whether you go with TCG Player or eBay or not. Um, for the same reason, just because you've got more market share at eBay, and I'm not just saying that out of my ass. I mean, saw it. I was selling thousands of cards, and they did go on TCG Player, but it was just way quicker on eBay, like consistent sales on eBay, and it'd be cards that sat on TCG Player just not doing nothing, collecting dust. So that's pretty much like my opinion. eBay is clearly superior. It's not even close. And used to, I kind of had a thing about going against eBay because I didn't like how they kept changing stuff up and going up on prices and all this. And I'd always try to look for an alternative. And there's some good niche sites out there, and TCG Player is a really good niche site for selling your single collectible card game cards. They're the best niche site for cards, but eBay is not a niche site. It's got everything. You know what I'm saying? But their audience is much bigger, and it more than makes up for the niche site. So that's the easy answer to me. eBay's clearly superior. TCG Player, niche sites like TCG Player, they can be better if you're a much larger seller than I am. If you've got 50,000, 100,000 cards, and you maybe work with somebody else and you move much quicker than I can, um, and you've got bulk of a lot of the same cards, whereas a lot of my cards, I've got one or two of them, or a few of them. I don't have 20 or 50 of the same card like some of these sellers do. Like some of these sellers are really big compared to me. And if you're something like that, a TCG Player probably is the better option. So there's that. But if you're not that, if you're just kind of a regular guy, you might have a few thousand or a few hundred. You're trying to sell your card singles, do it on eBay. It's way better. The only thing it's not beating TCG Player on is the fees. Now, selling these cheap cards, another thing to think about is the way that like the shipping and pricing structure are for these two sites. On eBay, you can set it up yourself. I haven't used TCG Player in a few years, but if I remember right, TCG Player automatically charges a fixed shipping fee to everybody, and then you can put in your own fee for heavier weights. And there'll be like different categories of weight over so and so many pounds. You can put in the different costs like manually. But as far as eBay, you can do whatever you want. You can include the shipping. You can charge what do you call it? Calculated shipping. And I used to try to do the calculated shipping on eBay to incentivize people to make like bulk orders. But actually, I stopped doing that because I mean the fees, and the shipping costs and all that stuff just keeps going up. So I just include shipping with my cards now. I sell them for about $1.75 a piece, and I make about a quarter. Um, Thing about selling these cheap cards is you've got to know exactly what your costs are before you even try to price anything. Um, you got to know what your top loader costs, your envelope, the piece of paper that you printed the packing slip on, the stamp or the sticker 4x6 label the cost of the label. You kind of want to figure all that stuff up, like down to a T, and then get the fees of the platform that you're selling on, and add all this stuff up, and make sure you're selling it high enough that you can make some kind of profit. If you're selling a cheap card, you're not going to get a whole bunch. You're selling something for $2 or less. And it's getting really hard to sell them for $2 or less nowadays, just because of how expensive stuff's getting, and everybody doing a race to the bottom with these card prices, or prices for any kind of collectible. Really, it's a race to the bottom. So it's like a threefold assault on trying to sell card singles. But yeah, you just figure up all your costs and make sure that you can sell it at a price and make some money on it. Like I say, I'm probably make a little more than a quarter, not much more. I sell my singles for $1.75, you know, for the at the cheapest. Like the dirt cheap cars, $1.75 a piece, shipping included. And I'll run deals where you can get multiple cards. And well, if you get two or more cards, you get a percentage discount. It'll be like 20% or 25% off if you get multiple cards like that in order. So I mean, I do offer some kind of deal for buying multiple cards, but yeah, I don't charge for shipping anymore. It's all included. I just bake it into the price. That's the best thing to do with these cheap cards. Bake it into the price, and somebody ends up buying multiple cards. Even if you give them a 25% discount, you're still going to come out better, because you're saving on the packing and all that, and the cost of the label, the cost of the stamp, because you can fit several cards before it goes over an ounce. So yeah, I mean, short. Long story short, eBay's the best. TCG Player, it's niche, obviously. Use it if you've got super high volume, or you sell. I'd say if you have super high volume. I used to would have said if you had super high volume, you sold cheap cars, but now I like selling my cheap cars on eBay. So to me, it's clearly the winner is eBay. But if you're super large and you're super steeped in the lifestyle of playing TCGs, do TCG Player. Or if you've got enough time to do both, do like I used to do and do both. But if for me, I don't have enough time to do all that. eBay wipes the floor with TCG Player. And like I say, I used to try to stay away from eBay and use niche. I tried to foster competition in the market by supporting somebody that wasn't eBay. But hell, eBay owns TCG Player now. A few years ago, eBay bought TCG Player. So you're not keeping any money out of eBay's pocket by using TCG Player either. So, yeah, make that decision for yourself. But I think you should go with eBay. I'm putting you on game, giving myself more competition, but that's good, more competition. As long as we don't all race to the bottom, set your prices a little higher than the bottom, and we can actually step the prices up and make collectibles worth more value again. But yeah, I appreciate y'all hanging out again with me. If you found anything of use here, go and hit the like, subscribe, share with people that you might know would have some value out of these videos. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. Peace out.